Are you always tired? I'm going to show you 8 different ways in this video on how you can have more energy. Plus, if you stick to the end, I'll show you a bonus. Hey guys, David Miller here. Thanks for joining this fitness community where we help you maximize your fitness, health, nutrition, and quality of life. If you're new here, make sure to click on that subscribe button. Lastly, any links that are mentioned will be in the description box below. Without further ado, let's jump to it. Numero uno, the first one, you want to improve your mitochondria. The mitochondria, just like high school biology, is the powerhouse of the cell. It's where all of the energy that comes from the food that you eat gets diverted and processed into the point that it makes ATP. ATP is what every cell in the body uses for energy. So if that process is not efficient, you are not efficiently going to make enough energy, and throughout the course of the day, you are going to get more and more tired. That's why, along with your circadian rhythm, around 2 or 3 o'clock, you're going to hit a nosedive, and that's not what you want. So in order to prevent that, you want to improve that mitochondria. How do you do that? You do your HIIT training, your high intensity interval training. Every now and then do a fast. Keep those processes, keep those receptors, keep all those components of the human physiology at peak performance. Give them a break. Just like you don't go 24/7, your body doesn't necessarily want to do that either. Some parts, your heart, your breathing, they have to go all the time, but other parts like your digestive system, your muscular exertion from exercise, there's so many processes that are always going. Give yourself a break, especially digestion. Take a 16 to 24, upwards of 36 hours for fast. Once a month is what I'd recommend. Okay, number 2, you want to make sure you're getting quality sleep. Not just rest, not just 8, 9, 10 hours. You want to be getting good quality sleep. It would be better to get 7.5 hours of good quality sleep than 9.5 hours where you're getting sleep, but it's just not that restorative, repairing, deep REM cycle sleep. So what can you do? You want to make sure that the room is cool. You want to make sure it's anywhere between 68, 70 degrees. Find what works for you. I could say 68. You might like it at 64. Find what works for you. Make sure it's cool. That's going to help to keep the brain cool. The body, it wants to cool down at night. If you look at the overall circadian rhythm, you're going to see that over the course of 24 hours, your lowest body temperature is when you're asleep. Everything's cooled down, so help it. Don't let it get too hot, otherwise that's going to interfere with your deep sleep. Other things that you can do is don't eat a huge meal before you go to bed. Make sure that you're not overeating. You're not having a whole pizza. You're not going out and having dinner and then going right back and trying to pass out. Your body's going to be trying to digest and it wants to sleep. It can't do both. It can't do both optimally, is what I should say. So make sure if you are eating close to your bedtime, ideally no closer than like 2 hours. If it's close to 1, just make a light snack. Make it just like a moderate amount of protein, maybe some good starchy carbs to kind of fuel the brain, give it some energy as you go to sleep. Have a nice serotonin release from those carbohydrates that converts into melatonin, which is that sleep hormone that helps you to fall asleep, right? So you don't want to be having those big meals prior to bed. Ideally, I cut it out 3-4 hours prior. Again, unless you're having like a small snack, or ideally like a protein shake. That way you're getting a good amount of amino acids right before you go to bed throughout the course of the night, and that way your body's able to repair. So some other things that you can do: take a hot shower. A hot shower. It doesn't have to be scalding, it doesn't have to be crazy hot, but make sure that you're getting that body temperature revved up, and then what's going to happen is your body is going to sense all that external heat and say, hey, we need to cool off, which is going to help it jumpstart into that cooling process. So you're essentially getting it prepped to go to sleep and cool off that body temperature. We're trying to aid the body into that restfulness. Another thing to do is stay away from stuff that's stimulatory. Don't watch the action movies. Don't watch the horror movies. Don't be on the cell phone for hours on end, because it's going to be too much stimulation, especially if you're not wearing like blue blockers. Blue blockers are a way that you are able to block blue light. So if I were to put this over the camera, right? Let's see. Everything's red, right? So basically what happens is that if you have too much blue light, if you were to go out in the sunlight right now, a lot of it is going to be blue light. You're going to get the entire spectrum, but a lot of what we get from our phone is that blue light. Blue light is one of the main ones that really stimulates the retina to really keep you awake. It's like, okay, well, it's 10 o'clock at night, but I'm looking at all this light, all this blue light, the TV, the phone, whatever, and it's going to tell your brain that it's high noon and you got to be awake, and you're not wanting to you're not going to get tired because that melatonin is not going to be produced. And if it is, it's going to be in a very inadequate amount. So throw those blue blockers on and put the night mode on your computer. You can use Flux. If you're using your phone, there should be a night mode on that, and you can throw that on, and that will help to block that blue light, especially if you go with the red ones. They're kind of crazy looking, I know, right? A little crazy, but the red ones are going to be the most effective. You can get the orange ones. Those aren't really going to do a whole lot. They're strong enough to kind of mess with you during the day, but they're not strong enough to prevent the blue light at night. So if you're looking like a computer screen, they're a little too intense. If you're trying to prevent eye strain, if you're trying to get more sleep at night, then you want to throw those red blue blockers on. If you wear the yellow ones, those aren't going to cut it either. Those are not strong enough. Those are great for people who work at the computer all day, who look at a lot of blue light in their day-to-day. Maybe you're a computer analyst, maybe you're a videographer, photographer, any one of those where you're in that constant kind of like computer screen mode. Okay, number 3, watch out for your caffeine intake and your alcohol. So coffee is really great for keeping you awake. You definitely don't want to have it at night, so you want to also be aware of when you time it. Maybe you go to bed at 9 or 10, so you're like, okay, well, I'm not having it right before I go to bed, but that's still too late in the day to really kind of burn off, if you will. Caffeine has a half-life of about 6 hours, so if you have a cup of coffee, it's about 80 to 100 milligrams of caffeine. That's going to take 6 hours just to get down to a half a cup. So if you have it at high noon, then at 6 o'clock, you're going to be essentially the equivalent of having half a cup of coffee. So you really want to try and limit that caffeine intake to the morning hours, and I would really try and cut it off around like 11 or 12. I've definitely fallen into this. I kind of know where my sweet spot is. If I have caffeine any later than like 2 o'clock, I am going to have a hard time sleeping. People have different tolerances. So maybe you're somebody who can have caffeine at 7 o'clock at night and you burn through that and it's done. It's out of your system and you're good to go. You might be somebody who has caffeine at 11 o'clock and you're wired until 3 the next morning. So always go at it strategically, find what works for you, and go from there. The other flip side, rather than having a stimulatory, is having a sedative, so alcohol. And a lot of people think, well, I'm going to have alcohol and I'm going to fall asleep like a baby, right? I feel real relaxed and I just kind of doze off, right? Right, but not quite right. And what I mean by that is that it's going to interfere with your REM sleep. It's going to interfere with that deep restorative sleep. And so, yes, you may sleep, but we're coming back to that first point I made. You want to have quality sleep, right? You want to make sure that the sleep that you are getting is maximizing all those efforts that you're doing to improve your health. So having alcohol really at any time of the day, but especially prior to bed, and especially in a larger amount, it's dose dependent, is really going to interfere with that. So my rule is like no alcohol, pretty much ever, but if you are having it, really try and keep it more to like the midday. Ideally, I don't know what your occasion is, but I would say hold it off until it's a special occasion and maybe have it, a couple times a year and be responsible with it and really just try and have a cutoff time. If you're like, okay, well, it's gonna be a late night, I'll probably go to bed at 1 in the morning, then 4 or 5 hours before I'm gonna cut it off, right? So take that with a grain of salt. I know people got some crazy lifestyles out there, and but it's not going to do you any good. It's also going to have kind of a secondary effect that you don't really think about, which is going to be decreasing your muscle protein synthesis. So you're not going to be able to build as much protein, whether it's your hair, your skin, nails, muscle tissue, and it's going to cut your body's ability to burn fat by up to 70% while it's in your system. So basically, while alcohol's in your system, everything's just getting packed away, it's getting stored. Comes down to overall energy balance at the end of the day, but it's definitely going to hinder that, especially in the short term. So, on to the next one. Number 4, guys, quattro. So, you want to make sure you're getting enough activity, enough exercise. Activity's great, go for a hike, go for, a jog, walk the dog, that kind of stuff is great, but even more so, go with that high intensity exercise. Try and find something that you enjoy somewhat, I guess. High intensity it's a wild ride. Go for 10-15 minutes. Try and find, or a better way to look at it is do a minimum of 4 rounds. Try and build up 6, 7, 15, 20 minutes worth of it, right? Or you can go kind of a longer, pace and do like a 45 to 60 minute workout. What I recommend is do kind of partition it up. Do a strength training portion, do a hypertrophy kind of weighted circuit, and then finish up with like a HIIT training, whether it's sprints, battle ropes, kettlebell swings. You got all kinds of options. It's a good time. So make sure you do that, and what that's going to do is not only boost your mood for the rest of the day, it's going to produce BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is going to be a myriad of great effects, but it's also going to increase your adenosine. You're going to break down all that ATP, and that's going to make you produce a lot of adenosine, which the coffee in the last one was blocking. So you're building that up, and at the end of the day, you have all that accumulated, and it's really going to help you sleep. It's also going to get waste products out. It's going to improve circulation, especially to the brain. You're going to increase cranial pressure from all that extra blood flow. And it kind of sounds bad. You don't want to increase your, the cranial pressure, but to an extent and in a safe level, you do, because that's going to help really flush out those components, waste products that could, over time, get stuck there. So it's going to help with your sleep. So make sure you get enough exercise. Either make it short and sweet, go right into your high intensity interval training, or do kind of a longer duration, whether it's a jog. Just get going, guys. That's the big thing. I know it's hard for a lot of people. Make it so it's easy, and oftentimes you'll be able to do more than you thought. 5-minute run turns into 10-15 minutes real quick. Okay, number 5, guys. So you want to make sure that you're reducing stress, and that's a hard one. I know that, especially with everything going on this past year or so, it's been a little crazy, to say the least. So one thing I always tell people is get outside the box, get outside of your environment. If you come home and you're like, I just don't feel right, go out in nature, guys. Go for a walk. Go for a swim if it's warm enough whenever you're watching this. Get yourself out of those situations, those environments, those people that are stressing you out. Say, hey, I need 5. I need to go for a walk. And that's something that people should recognize. Take time for you to improve you, to be a better person to those people. So reduce stress. So get out of your environment, exercise, kind of coming back to our earlier points, getting enough rest, deep breathing, meditation. Box breathing is a good one. Essentially doing 4 seconds in, hold, 4 seconds out, hold, repeating that. Really visualizing, something peaceful. Picture yourself in whatever environment that you find relaxing. Maybe it's on a beach, maybe you're in like a hammock in the forest or something. Whatever you guys find relaxing. Picture that, visualize it. In that way, you're giving your body and your mind a break. So visualization, meditation, deep breathing. Make sure you're hydrated. If you're dehydrated, that's going to be a stress on the body. There's all these physiological stresses that manifest themselves into a mental stress and vice versa, right? So reducing that stress, and I'll say this, if you have something that is constantly eating at you, maybe it's not that big a thing, knock it out. If it's something small, that makes it that much easier to get rid of. But if you let it grow, if you let it take over, then it's going to come and get you at a later time when maybe it's a little bit stronger than you're ready for or that you would like to handle. So don't let the small things turn into big things, and definitely take care of the big things when they are there. Okay, number 6, guys. So number 6, make sure you're eating good food. You are what you eat. So if you're eating McDonald's, if you're eating all this processed stuff, if you're eating junk food, it's gonna bog you down. It's gonna cause inflammation at a cellular level, and that is pretty much a precursor, especially chronically, to every major disease. So if you can stop in the short term, get those omega-3s in, lean protein that ideally is grass-fed, grass-finished. You're getting starchy complex carbohydrates in there, your sweet potatoes, your quinoa, your oatmeal, your even regular potatoes, but I would definitely say go with sweet potatoes. Throw a little bit of cinnamon on there, helps with your blood sugar. Make sure you're getting your healthy fats in there, your macadamia nuts, your pecans, your olive oils. You're getting in your fatty fish, eggs. Make sure they're free range. They don't have any antibiotics, any of that junk. Just get the old-fashioned stuff like Mother Nature used to intend for us to eat. So get that good nutrition in there. Go ahead and take a vitamin if you're not already taking one, just to make sure you're getting everything. Take some fish oil pills, some vitamin D. Magnesium is a big one that people don't really get a whole lot of. And there's just a myriad of things. Test it out. See what, if you add this in there, do you feel better? Do you feel worse? Do you feel the same? And you just keep going about that until you're like, hey, I feel great. So go in that process, make sure you're getting good nutrient-dense food. Number 7, we're making it towards the end here. So make sure you're hydrated, but with the right fluids. You don't want to be saying, okay, well, David said, go get a bunch of fluids. I'm throwing back a 2-liter Diet Coke because it's a diet, right? You don't want to do that. You don't want to do orange juice, because it's just a bunch of sugar. None of that crap, guys. Make sure you're getting good fluids. So water, right? If you want to have something else, have water, and then put maybe some lemon juice in it, maybe a little bit of apple cider vinegar, maybe some lime. You could throw some berries in there too if you want. If you want to add a little bit of flavor, make sure it's coming from a natural source as much as possible. I'll put a couple of things in the description below, what I have found in the past to get a good flavor and be natural as well. But you don't want to be getting your fluids from junk fluids, right? If you have to go to a store to get it and you can't find it out in nature, don't do it. If you're adding something, if you're tearing a packet and throwing it in, but it's been derived from something you can find in nature, you're good to go. But be very careful of what you're putting in. And the biggest thing we're 70% plus water, right? Make sure you're getting enough fluids. At the bare bones minimum, guys, it's going to be your body weight divided by 2 in ounces. So say someone's 200 pounds, you want to make sure that they're getting at least 100 ounces a day at the minimum, right? And I would encourage much more. I'd say probably closer to about 0.75 of that body weight. So for that person, that's gonna be $1.50, right? Which is over a gallon of water. So hydrate. For a lot of people, that's gonna solve a lot of things right there. A lot of people are dehydrated, they don't even know it. By the time you're thirsty, you're already too dehydrated to perform at your best in a competitive sport. And I would argue to say even in a psychological or a mental activity. So hydrate, give the body what it wants. It's mostly water, so give it. Okay, this is the last one, number 8. And I thought this was an interesting one, but make sure you're hanging out with people. And that really helps to do a couple of things that we've touched on, right? It's going to help to reduce stress. It's going to reduce that cortisol, right? It's going to improve mood. It's going to, if you really think about it, you could take away all the people in the world, and it's going to be a pretty lonely place, right? You're going to be Will Smith out of I Am Legend, right? It's not too good.
Morning, Hank. Midway through the G's.
It's not the materials in the world that make things worth living. It's the people. Spend time with people that you care about, the people that love you and you love them, right? Spend time with those kind of people. And I would encourage you to take a step further and find people that improve you, that have a positive pressure on your life to make you into a better version of yourself. Don't find somebody that just goes with the flow. Find someone or someone's that really challenges you to be your best. Whether that's in the gym as a gym partner, maybe it's a study buddy if you're still in school, maybe it's a coworker that's just a go-getter and they're doing the right things, maybe they got more experience, or just somebody who has a similar hobby. Maybe they like to go bike riding, maybe they like to go do archery. Whatever it is, guys, find people that help your mental state, help you to be a better version of yourself. And that will give you more energy, not only in the short term, but in the long run as well. Hey guys, okay, so it's time for the bonus. Bonus is going to be, I think sleep is the biggest one on this list. So how do you improve sleep? One of the ways that I've been doing it is by taking supplements. I'm not affiliated with any of these guys. I'll link them in the description below if you want to check them out. But it was basically recommended by Andrew Huberman from Stanford. And he's on the Joe Rogan podcast. Listen to it. Great guy. I encourage you guys to check him out. And it's going to be your magnesium threonate. It's one of the only supplements, especially magnesium, that is able to cross the blood-brain barrier. So it's able to get in. Magnesium is really good for relaxation. It's really good for a ton of different metabolic processes in the body, up to 300, right? So getting magnesium to the brain, helping it to relax, helping that cognitive function is huge. There's apigenin, which is also going to aid it, and there's L-Theanine, which I think is a great one to take whether you're trying to go to sleep, which is going to help to relax you, but also just in your day-to-day. It's actually a non-prescription version of an anti-anxiety, and it's not it shouldn't be one of those things stigmatized, it's basically a precursor to GABA, which basically helps to inhibit some of those neurotransmitters. So if you just feel like, if you're one of those people, and I've definitely done this before, I'm laying in bed at night and like, feel like your eyes are just like fluttering like crazy, but you're not in that rapid eye movement REM sleep, it's probably because, you're thinking about a ton of things. You're like, okay, well, I got to do this first thing in the morning. I got this project I want to knock out, X, Y, Z. You got so many different things, right? L-theanine essentially will help to calm you down, right? It helps to kind of slow everything down. You're going to relaxate. It's not going to like knock you out, but it's going to help to relax you. So, some other times when I'll take some of this is maybe if I have like a big discussion with somebody, or I've had a couple of kind of like larger exams. L-theanine is really just going to help you to relax. It's going to help you to get in a good kind of calm mood. So you can take it, if you're just having a stressed out day, you're like, hey, that was crazy. I'm going to take some L-theanine and kind of take the edge off rather than throwing back a couple of brews. So that's one way to do it. And before you go to bed, so you do that trifecta, you're going to be in a good place. You're going to relax from the L-theanine, and then your magnesium threonate is going to help essentially to calm the brain and give it what it needs from a cognitive perspective. And the apigenin, it's kind of a weird word, is going to help to have a synergistic effect with all those. So those three are really going to help along with everything else. Like I said, as an entire list, go with that sleep as the most important one. Have that one as your foundation and build up from there. So if you want to learn more about supplements, what I think are the best 5, check out this video right here. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already for more awesome and helpful videos. Click the thumbs up to help the channel grow, and be sure to check out all the freebies in the description box below to help maximize your fitness and nutrition. Until next time, stay happy, healthy, and enjoy life to the fullest.